nerd friends, and welcome back to the channel. Now today is a very special day. This is a very special video because today we are celebrating 100 plus 46 subscribers. Now real quick, I did want to point out that at one point I did have 144 subscribers, so as a joke I was gonna say, oh, we are celebrating 100 plus 44 subscribers, and then as I was gonna put a picture of the band plus 44 somewhere up on the screen, but hey, shoulda, woulda, coulda, right? But anyway, I figured, what better way to celebrate such a momentous occasion than by showing all of you my stuff.
Behold, my stuff.
Okay, so obviously I am going to be showing you all of my instruments in my collection, and I will be covering 3 key points for each instrument. When and how I got it, when it made its video debut here on the channel, and what modifications, if any, have been made to it. Alright, so let's go ahead and get right into it, starting with my Ibanez acoustic. This was a birthday present from my parents in my sophomore year of high school. It made its video debut on my cover of the Cologne High theme by Abandoned Pools, and the only modification that I've made is I have put hip shot locking tuners on this guitar. Yeah, I remember when I first got this guitar, I was ecstatic because I didn't have an acoustic up at that point, and the closest thing that I could get to that is like playing the clean tone on my amplifier and making it sound as trebly as possible, because for some reason in my mind that sounded like a plugged-in acoustic to me. And of course, when I got it, the very first thing I did is the thing that probably every young metalhead does when they get their first acoustic, and that is play every Metallica song that they ever learned. So before we go on to the next instrument, I want to show y'all something real quick. Check out the discoloration on the back of this guitar. Now, I have had this guitar, since high school, so I'm not sure if it's always been like this and I'm just now noticing it for some reason, or if all the years of travel and abuse and being exposed to the elements brought it to this point, but either way, I'm not tripping about it. It looks pretty cool. It gives it some personality. But yeah, this is just a great sounding and a great playing guitar. I'm glad to have it. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one now. Alrighty, let's talk about the next guitar, which is my Epiphone Les Paul Special. This was a Christmas present from my parents in my junior year. This guitar made its video appearance on my Clean Riffs That I Just Think Are Neat video. It's just a short little video that I wanted to make. And for the modifications, we've got hip shot locking tuners. And for pickups, we've got the EMG 5166, I believe the set is called, but it's one of their active sets. So I was pretty happy when I got this guitar because I have been a Kiss fan ever since I was a little boy, and Ace Frehley has always been my favorite member, and it's because of him that I had an appreciation and a love for the Les Paul before I even knew what a Les Paul was. And so to finally have a Les Paul to go with my Washburn Paul Stanley guitar that I'm going to be getting to here pretty shortly, it definitely satiated the Kiss fanboy in me. Yeah, it's got a nice, smooth satin finish that's definitely seen some abuse over the years. You can see some of the marks There's also a huge, there's also like a big cut in the body right there that to this day I still have no clue how it got there. But yeah, this is just a great guitar, super comfortable neck, not too thick, not too thin, but just right. All right, to quote Jay and Grant, on to the next. All right, now this guitar right here is pretty much my baby. This is the LTD EC10. This is a guitar that I got myself during one of Guitar Center's little pre-Black Friday sales. I don't know if they still do that anymore. It made its video appearance on my guitar/bass cover for Slipknot's Duality. And for modifications, we've got, just like with my Les Paul, we've got hip-shot locking tuners, except these are black instead of gold. We got a hip-shot Tune-O-Matic bridge, and for pickups, we've got the EMG Marty Friedman passive set. So the reason that I say this guitar in particular is my baby is because this, I feel, is my most reliable one in any kind of situation, whether I'm recording or whether I'm out playing shows. In the rare occasions that I do get to play shows, I know that this guitar will not fail me. Also, one thing that always kind of struck me as odd about this guitar, even from when I first got it at the store, was that despite all of the bevels and the cutaways that this guitar has, including this absolutely massive tummy cut, this is surprisingly the heaviest guitar that I own. I don't know the exact weight of it, but it's got some heft to it, that's for sure. Also, another thing that I kind of like about this guitar is the volute that it's got on the back of the neck. I know that volutes have an actual purpose, it's like extra security for your headstock, but for some reason I just thought volutes always looked cool. Plus it serves as a pretty good stopping point for your hands, especially if you're like really in the heat of the moment and you go up a little too high and next thing you know you're shaking your fingers on the cut strings. But yeah, in the few occasions that you see me play guitar live, this is most likely the guitar that I'm going to have in my hands. Alright, next up is my Washburn PS80 Paul Stanley signature model. This was a birthday present from my uncle, who also plays guitar, when I turned 10 in middle school. This made its video appearance in my reaction video to Iron Maiden's The Writing on the Wall, in which I did a quick little cover of The Trooper, and this was the guitar that I used. And for modifications, just like with all my guitars that I've just shown, we've got hip shot locking tuners. I picked the black because I felt like it gelled with the aesthetic of the guitar. We got a hip shot stop tail Tune-O-Matic bridge, just like with my EC10. And for the pickups, we've got the EMG headset, which is James Hetfield's signature pickups. This guitar has a lot of sentimental value to me because this is pretty much where my guitar playing journey began, with this guitar. And when I first had it, I kind of, noodled around on it for a little bit. I did what every other kid does when they get their first guitar. I learned Smoke on the Water and Iron Man and just other classic guitar riffs like that. But eventually I had a moment where I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. And that moment came when the first song that I ever learned all the way through, beginning to end, was Before I Forget by Slipknot. And when that moment came, I was like, okay, yeah, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, pretty much. So yeah, this is the guitar that has seen the most action just because of how long I've had it. When I was younger, I would have these wristbands that had like these metal little rivets on them that would clamp the bracelet together. And I would try to channel my inner James Hetfield and wear those wristbands while I was playing my guitar. And you can see all the little buckle rash right there, if you could call it that. So yeah, this guitar has definitely seen a lot. It's been through a lot. And this guitar just really, really and truly means a lot to me. Alright, let's cut to the newcomer now. So this is my Sterling by Music Man JP70. It is a 7-string. It's a John Petrucci signature model. And I got this for myself as a birthday present when I turned 26 this year. It made its video appearance in my hunting for a 7-string video, and I have not made any real modifications to it aside from raising the strings a little bit more to how I would like them. And here in the tremolo bar cavity, I put a block in there. I put a couple of blocks in there actually to kind of turn it into a makeshift hardtail. So the one thing that I like particularly about this guitar is the neck. Because one thing that I was kind of worried about when shopping around for 7 strings was that the neck was going to feel like I was playing on a 2x4, and that is definitely not the case. It's got a nice, smooth satin finish, and my fingers can just stretch across the fretboard with no straining, no real effort whatsoever. It's just a really comfortable neck to play with. It's actually the lightest guitar that I own, too. Now, of course, I make an attempt to play all the strings, but really I just end up doing what everyone does when they get their first 7 string, which is ha-ha, low string, go brrr. But yeah, this is a very, very comfortable guitar to play on. It's super lightweight. There's this nice little chunk of wood taken out where your arm would rest, so it just feels natural. It doesn't feel weird at all. It's just a great playing guitar. And I'm really hoping to have the dedicated video to this guitar here out pretty soon, so stay tuned for that. And to quote Dave Grohl, I am done, on to the next one. Alright everybody, we are in the home stretch, and now it is time to talk about some basses. And we are going to start with my Hofner Ignition violin bass. This was a bass that I bought for myself online from Guitar Center. It made its video debut on my bass cover for Aerosmith's Jaded, and any modifications that I have made to this bass have been more cosmetic than anything else outside of just raising or lowering the strings however I like them. It came with those white, I believe people call it the toilet seat pickguard. I just took that off so you could see the red finish better. And I replaced the black volume knobs with more traditional looking teacup knobs. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with y'all, I am not ashamed to admit that Paul McCartney was the reason I bought this bass, because just like Kiss, the Beatles have been one of my favorite childhood bands, and before I picked up the bass or even knew what a bass was for that matter, I would always hone in on Paul's playing whenever I listened to the Beatles, because it was like nothing I'd ever heard before. You know, he just always had these super tasty licks that were really melodic, and they just always stuck out to me. So some of the things that I love about this bass is the first one being that it's very, very lightweight. The second thing being is that it's actually a short scale bass, so playing super complex runs and fills are almost super easy, barely an inconvenience. And the finish. I actually like the gloss finish on this bass, and usually I stay away from gloss finishes on instruments in general because I don't like when my hands get stuck on them, but that is definitely not the case with this bass, and I am so glad for that. Only thing I would definitely change is the tuners. These things really want to pick and choose when they want to keep their tune and to keep their pitch, so that is definitely something that I need to take care of sooner rather than later. But yeah, I remember when I first got this bass, the very first day it came in, I got so caught up in playing it that I was almost late for work because of it. And there's actually kind of a reason that I used this specific bass for my bass cover of Jaded, because in the music video for the song, Aerosmith's bassist Tom Hamilton is seen using a Hofner. Now, he uses one in the video, but whether or not he uses one on the actual recording of the song, that's something that I would probably just have to ask him if I ever met him in person, which I doubt will ever happen. Alright, well, that is enough for this bass. Let's move on to the next one. Alright, now we are going to get into my very first bass. This is my Ibanez 5-string. This was a Christmas present to me in middle school from my parents again. It made its video debut on my bass cover for That's the Way I Like It by Casey and the Sunshine Band. And modifications are, of course, hip shot, clover button tuners. There's a front view, there's a back view. And for electronics, we've got the EMG passive J bass set. And I guess if we're going to talk about cosmetics, I recently painted like a silver border around the headstock and the body. Didn't mean for it to come out looking so grungy, but you know what, I feel like it kind of fits the bass pretty well. So yeah, I got this bass about 5 or 6 years after I got my Paul Stanley guitar, and the reason I wanted to play bass was because of Metallica and Slipknot's bass players, Cliff Burton and Paul Gray respectively. And I remember being a little intimidated when I first saw this bass because it was a 5-string, and at that point I only knew basses to have 4 strings. So I just kind of sat there looking at this low B. I'm like, what do I do with this? But funny enough, I didn't realize its importance until I started learning Megadeth's songs, specifically Hangar 18, because David Ellefson, he rides that low B a lot. But yeah, just like with my 7-string, this is a surprisingly slim neck in my opinion. It doesn't feel like I'm playing a 2x4. However, one thing I didn't take into accountability when I was replacing the tuners on this bass was that I didn't realize how far out these buttons would come. So now my bass just kind of looks like it has Shrek ears.
Somebody once told me.
And yeah, just like with my Paul Stanley guitar, this bass has seen so much abuse. It's been dropped, it's been thrown, it's been slapped, it's been punched. Anything that could have happened to this bass, you name it, it's probably happened to it. So I have already made some modifications to this bass, but I'm really hoping that at some point in the near future I can make a couple of more just to get it closer to how I want it to actually play. So I may or may not do a video on that, so if that's something that y'all want to see, like and subscribe. Alright everybody, here it is, the final bass and the final instrument in my collection. Now, this is a bass that you are probably very familiar with by this point, depending on how long you've been following the channel. But this is my Jackson model name right here because I could not be bothered to remember it. This was a birthday present from my cousin that I picked out for myself when I turned 25 last year. It made its video appearance in my bass cover for Gojira's Born for One Thing. And aside from adjusting how high or low the strings are from the fretboard, everything is as stock as it gets. I have not changed anything on this bass. So it's really kind of funny how this bass wound up to be in my possession, because before that I was looking for a precision bass, or at least a precision style bass like the Surveyor from LTD. But I didn't want to just buy any P bass. I wanted something that was actually going to like speak to me, you know, call out to me. So my 25th birthday rolls around, me and my cousin, we go out to eat, and then we go to the local guitar center. And not even 2 seconds after walking in, this is the bass that catches my eye, and for a number of reasons. First one being the fact that this was a Jackson, and I've always loved Jackson guitars. Second one being this really nice maple fretboard that just pops out on this otherwise all black instrument. And more importantly, the fact that it had the precision style pickups. So without even looking at any other basses, I just grab this one, sit down, plug it in, play on it for a bit, and I'm really digging how comfortable the neck is. So I'm sitting there, I'm playing it, just playing anything that just comes to my mind. And I can't remember the exact conversation that me and my cousin had, but it pretty much resulted in him saying, I'll tell you what, if you like this bass, I will buy it for you. And when I heard that, I just stopped playing because I had to make sure and like take the time to process that I heard him say what I thought he just said. And I had to think about it for a second because I almost said no, but the voice inside my head was telling me, dude, let him buy the bass for you. So I agreed to let him buy the bass for me, and it's been my main bass ever since then. You know, this is the bass that I use for almost a good majority of my covers or when I'm going out to play shows, and it is probably one of the most comfortable basses I have ever played. I really like this neck profile because it's not, it is a bit on the chunky side, but it's not so chunky that you feel like you're playing a 2x4. However, the one thing that I'm still not really used to, I don't know if it's just because of the scale length of the neck or because the tuners go out a little farther, but whenever I go to tune my bass, I have to like reach out a little farther to tune them. But that's not a problem or anything, that's just something that I noticed when I spent a little more time with this bass. And really and truly, I could not be any happier to have this bass in my collection. Alright, that is it for today, gathered friends. I really hope you all enjoyed this video, and thank you all so very much for 146 subscribers. Hey, we can only go up from here, am I right? And while I'm at it, if you like this video, why don't you stop by the channel, see if something else strikes your fancy. And with all that being said, thank you all so much for stopping by, tell your friends about me, and have a good one.